Okay, so let's get started. So you just need to start with an open blank Blender file. I have one already set. And you're just going to start off with a basic square, cube as we call it. If you're just curious and seeing what I'm doing and it's not reading too well on screen, you can kind of see over here. If you see mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down, that's just zooming in. Using the left mouse button to select the cube. Using the right mouse button to open up this little object context menu, which has a lot of cool little tools here. So you'll see right up in your blank Blender scene, you'll see this collection, and inside of it you'll have this cube, you'll have a light, and you'll have a camera. So we don't really need that right now, so you can hide that. It's a little eyelid here, you just tweak that. You select the top here called Scene Collection, and we're going to go over here, right over here, and we're going to click Add Mesh, and we're going to go to Cube. All right. So once you go to that, you have a basic cube. Really simple. You can see it's just has 6 faces. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a subdivision modifier to it. Now what this does, it'll create more faces and make it something more spherical shaped, which we can shape and start building the head in our rough little block out here. So click on that, and you're going to see viewport, and you're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have a nice little sphere. This is going to be the beginning of his head. Okay. All right. Right here you can jump to what's basically an orthographic view, which is basically just a very flat blueprint-like view of the object in the viewport. So we're going to look straight on here. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure you've selected the sphere, right click, and you're going to go to Duplicate Object. Okay, so click that, and what you'll get is you'll get another sphere, exact same one. And what we're going to do now is we're going to create his cheeks, or a rough in blocking of his cheeks. So you're going to go over here to the left side of the screen. We're going to select the Move tool, and you're just going to move it over to the side. And then we're going to use over here on the left, this is the Scale tool. And you're going to hold the S key on your keyboard, and you get this arrow, and it'll allow you to shrink this down. Okay. Then we're going to right here to the top controller of the Scale tool, and we're going to squash it down. Okay. Now let's move it over, and we're going to move it down. Then we're going to click here to go to the side, and we're going to move it forward because our cheeks are in the front of our face. Okay, now I'm going to go out of orthographic, and I'm just going to move it here in the 3D viewport and just kind of get it into place. All right. So we have the left cheek here, but we don't have the right cheek. So I'm going to show you this cool little modifier tool. You come over here, you make sure you're here under modifiers. You'll see a little wrench. Go to add modifier, and you're going to go to mirror. Okay. So what this is going to do, it's going to make an exact copy on the opposite side. We have to tell it which axis. So first we're going to click the y-axis, unclick the x-axis, so it's just the blue y-axis highlighted. Then you're going to take this little eyedropper here, right? And we want to tell it which object we want it to mirror it across. So you select that and you go over and you click that, and voila, we have an exact copy of the cheek on the other side. Pretty cool, huh? I love that part. It saves you a lot of time. Okay, so now we have that cheek in, the cheeks in. And now we're going to create the mouth, nose area. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to select the head, duplicate the object, and then we're going to go over to the scale, top control, and we're going to squash it down. Maybe we'll select the S key and we'll just shrink it in just a little bit. Okay, now select the move tool and we're going to move it along the x-axis. See these little lines here? So that's z-axis, that's the y-axis, that's the x-axis. These helps us move things in a very precise way so that we can put things where we want them in a very precise way. Okay, so we've got that in there. Could probably move the cheeks back a little bit. Let's see, we're starting to block out the shape of the face. All right, so it's kind of similar to what we do in drawing, where we rough in the volume or the general basic shapes of what it is we're going to draw. We don't get into the detail until later. You just want to keep things really big, and then you go from big and you move into small. Okay, so we have that blocked in. And then it's a good time to save. So go up here, you want to save often, File, Save As, make sure you have a good place to save it. And give it a nice name so that you know exactly where it is. Number it so you know where it is in order. Go 2. And that way you can go back in case you make a mistake, or for some reason you have a power outage and your computer shuts off, or your computer crashes. Sometimes that happens. All right, and hit save. Okay, now we're going to create his neck. Okay, so the neck is basically like a cylinder. So let's get a cylinder, same place. We go up here to the top, add, mesh, and you scroll down, and there you go, cylinder. Little big, it's all right, it's a good start. So we're going to go over to the S key, and you just move your mouse in, and it's going to shrink down. And I'm going to line it up in the Y. Just move this down in X. Still too big. He's got a pretty skinny neck. All right. Now that's a little short, so let's go to the scale tool over here on the left, and we're just going to lengthen that out a little bit. There you go. You can go back to the move tool on the left and just slide it down a little bit. So I kind of want it to taper in a little bit, you know, so the neck should be a little wider at the top and more narrow at the bottom. So here we're going to do something a little bit more complicated than we've been doing. Very simple. So we're going to go into the sub-object mode of this geometry, so of this cylinder. So cylinder is made up of faces, vertices, and edges. We just want to put an edge, a line in the middle that allow us to scale up the top part and keep the width the way it is at the bottom part. So you're going to go up to right up here, upper left, object mode. You're going to scroll down and hit edit mode. Okay, so you're going to see everything's a little highlighted. So I just click out of that. And what you want to do is see you have this whole list of tools over here. I know that's a little scary, like, oh, what do they do? We don't have to get into them in detail. We're just going to go to the one that we want. So we're going to go to the loop cut tool, and you'll see it's a cube with a line through it. And it's really very cool, very powerful tool. I use this with everything. And you come over here and you're going to see a line. And it basically wants to, don't click yet. It wants to put in a line, and it always goes to the center between the other two loops or edges on the cylinder. So at the bottom there's a loop of edges, and at the top there's a loop of edges. So we're going to left mouse click, hold it, don't unclick, and we're just gonna slide it down just a little bit. Okay, and then let go, and then you just put in a line of edges, and I'm going to show you what this gives us. So this gives us the ability to help block in the shape in a little more complicated way. So we're going to go up here. So this is the selection mode buttons. Here you can select either vertices. Right now it's set on selecting edges, or you can select a face. We want to go to select face. Okay. So right now we can't see. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the right, and this is the viewport shading buttons, and we're just going to go to wireframe. It'll allow us to see. So we've got it selected to edges. We're going to go back to, we're going to go up here to the very top, select box, because all we want to do is select the top face. And you'll see this little dot in the middle. That's essentially the center of the face, and it's usually where the normal is. And if you click on that, you select that whole face, right? Then you can go to your S key, and you can scale that up and see what that does. That'll allows us to create a little more complicated shape than what we initially had. And that'll help create some width up at the top where the neck is going to connect to the head. So if I switch back up here at the top right to viewport shading to solid mode, see how that adds a little more thickness? Yeah. And that's basically what we want to do. Okay. I'm just going to do it a little bit bigger. You should be still, there we go. Yeah, that looks better. So we're going to go up to the top left here again, and we're going to get out of edit mode, and we're going to go back to object mode. Okay. So we just look at it. So far we've got the head, got the cheeks, we've got the mouth nose area, and we've got the neck. So now we need to do is get his antennae. All right, then the antennae, very simple. It's basically a cylinder and a sphere. So let's create another cylinder. So we're going to go up to the top left here, add mesh. I'm going to scroll down to cylinder. And we get a nice big cylinder. And now we're going to use the S key on your keyboard. And we're going to scale that way down. Looks pretty good. Then we're going to go to the scale tool here. Click that, and then we're going to scale this up. Yeah, that should give us enough space. Then we're going to move it up. We're going to switch to the front right here using this. So this all helps you be more exact and accurate when you're blocking out a shape. I'm going to slide it over to the left. Okay. And then I'm going to use the rotate tool. So it creates this little gyroscope control tool. So red allows you to rotate it in the X direction. Blue rotates it around. See if you move around here, see? So red, you can do it either way. Green, Y direction either way, and blue, that's Z, you can rotate it around its axis. So what we want to do is we want to rotate it this way. So, I'm sorry, go to the front, and we're going to just rotate it. Let's just make it an even. You just rough it in the way you think you'd like it. Remember, let's just have some fun. Don't make this too overly complicated, right? Let's just rotate it a little more. There we go. All right. Now I'm going to move to over here to the right. And I'm going to click on the minus Y to get to the side. And we're going to move this over here to the back of the head. Okay. And then once we've done that, we're going to go back to the rotation. And you should have a green rotation now. Up here you have your different rotational tools. So you can do what's called the world rotation, and then you have local, which is basically relative to the object that you selected. If you do world, it'll rotate it relative to the general world or environment. I know that sounds a little confusing, but right now we have it set to local. If you had it set to global, which is world, see, it's going to line up perfectly. And that has its place, but right now we want it at local. Okay. And now we're going to just rotate it back a little bit, like that. All right. So let's see. How does that look? Let's look from the front. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna make him a little skinnier. So I'm gonna go to the S key again and just, it's a little too much. I'm just shrinking it down just a little bit. And let's see how that looks. That looks a little better. All right, cool. Now, this is one of the cool things about using digital tools. We're gonna let the software help take some of the mundane, hard technical stuff out of our way. And we're going to go over here to the modifier stack. So that's right here, this little wrench. Click on modifier, make sure you still have the cylinder selected. And we're going to go again to mirror. And I think you know what we're going to do. We're going to go Y, unclick X, use the eyedropper to select, we want it to mirror it across the head. And boom, we get the exact same placement on the opposite side. Saved us a bunch of time. Love it. Okay. Probably a good time to save. And next we're going to create the top part of the antenna, which is just a sphere. So I'm going to select the head again. I'm going to right click, duplicate object, and if you move, you can kind of place it. I usually don't do that because I want it to be more exact. So if you click the right mouse button, it'll pop back into the original place. And then I'm just going to use the move tool so I have more control. So I'm going to use blue and green. I'm just going to move it over to here to the left, and then I'm going to use the S key, and I'm going to shrink this down a bit. Maybe just a little more. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to put it at the end of these cylinders. So let's just get it into place. So I have it there. I'm going to go to the Y over here on the right view, the negative Y view. Gonna move this over. And let's see how that looks. It's pretty good. It's a little big, but you can make it as big or as small as you want. You know, that's the fun of it. You do what works for you and what you like. All right. I think I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to show you this. It's pretty cool. So we'll go back to, so I've selected the sphere. Then I'm going to hold the shift button key on your keyboard. It's on your left side of your keyboard. You'll see shift, hold that down, and then you can select the cylinder. So you've just selected both of them. Now we're going to go up here to the top and we're going to change our translation mode from local to global. Okay, very important. And that'll allow us to just move things back a little bit. Move it down just a little bit. And the cool thing is because it's still mirrored, this is moving on the opposite side, so you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, I'm just going to do that, move this down. Let's take a look from the front. Oh, that's the back. We can do the front. Maybe a little higher up. There we go. Let's look from the side. Yeah. So that means the cylinder needs to be pushed down a little bit, no problem. So you select the cylinder, go from global to local. Okay, and we're going to use the Z axis right here. Make sure you have the move tool selected, and we can just slide it down. As long as the edges are buried within this sphere and this sphere, because eventually we're going to join these together into one piece, and then we're going to remesh it, which you'll see, and then we can start sculpting and making it nice and smooth, and it'll feel. So we use the term organic. But anyway, that's getting a little ahead of our skis, so we're going to go back. And we're going to do the exact same thing with the sphere. We're going to go over here, right side, make sure you're in the modifier tab. Click add modifier, scroll down to mirror. And the same thing. Select Y, deselect X, select the eyedropper, select the head, and boom, look at that. Awesome. So there you go. You just blocked out Nux's head. So this is a good start. Now, the cool thing is because we've blocked this in and these are all separate shapes, we can still change these quite a bit. So be sure to hit File, Save As, so you can either save over. I always recommend saving as, so you can save an increment of it. So one, Nux head block out 1, 2, 3, whatever. So that way you can go back in case you make a mistake. You don't have to start from scratch. That's what we learn in the film industry. Anyway, but the cool thing is you just block this out. This is what professionals do at the very top. They block things out using these volume shapes. And then once they get all that pretty much the way they want, then they join everything together and they start sculpting and smoothing and start adding detail. But at this stage, we can still make changes. You can scale this up. You can give them fatter cheeks if you want. Let me just save. You can the S key and you could give them fatter cheeks. Or you could scale in certain directions. Make his cheeks fatter like that, right? And just move it up. Look at that, see? Gives it a different feel. Almost chipmunky. There's such a word, which I'm sure there isn't, but the point is like it allows you to make a lot of changes, kind of play around with things before you commit to a general shape. Okay? So anyway, there you go. You blocked out. And in the next video, we are going to make some minor shape adjustments, and then we're going to join everything together. Stay tuned. See you in the next one. Bye.